What's going on, guys? A couple of years ago, we bought this boat from an auction, sight unseen, and I'll tell you what, it was an absolute steal, one of the best buys I've ever made. But a few years on, she's got some issues. There's a bunch of electrical gremlins everywhere, it needs a big clean-up, a bunch of things replaced. So in this video, we're going to give it a complete overhaul. Let's get into it. So while she is in pretty good shape overall, there's a bunch of things we're fixing, from rotten LED strips under the gunnels, leaking underwater lights, installing a new tackle organiser, grip tape on the bow to replace some old gross stuff, upgrading the old floodlights on the rocket launchers, replacing the broken deck wash hose and refilling and cleaning out the tank, a bit of an engine check over and an inox, and of course a full top to bottom clean and wax. Let's get into it. Alright, so we've relocated the boat to the driveway, and I'll show you job number one. I noticed when I was out a little while ago, the blue light. So that's one blue light. The other blue light's over there. That one over there, I believe, is not working. It has a couple of dead lights in it. So we're going to, oh, there you go. It's actually split there, which makes me think maybe water got in. Anyway, we'll turn it on, test it, and see if it works. Battery on. Underwater lights on. Oh, I got these new seats, by the way. I should have made a video about them, but they're pretty cool. That flips up, so you've got standing room here to stand and drive, and flips back down, and they're very comfortable. So anyway, let's go see if that blue light turned on. My memory did not serve correctly. It was this side, and interestingly, I can see that it's full of water. So fortunately, I was able to source a new light that is very, I think, well, pretty much the same, or near enough the same as the current ones. I noticed the wiring was not that long, so I have extended it myself. This is the join that I did. It uses liquid electrical, so it's soldered to just an additional piece of marine grade wire, but it's soldered, it's a liquid electrical tape coated, heat shrink, and then coated with liquid electrical tape again, just because I know water does pool up in that part of the boat, so I figured that that means that no water gets into that join. It doesn't mean no water gets into here, but we'll smash that with Sikaflex when we install it. Let's go see if it's the right size. All right, looks pretty close. I reckon we'll be sweet. Got to work out how we're going to get this off. There's a lot of Sikaflex in there. We'll make a start now. So because of all of this, like, sort of corrosion, water's gotten under the paint and stuff, you can see it's all bubbled up. I'm just going to grind back all of the old Sikaflex, and then we'll just do a little paint patch here. Alright, I've got here one of the most underrated tools for this job. I've done a video on this before that's done really well. This is a standard multi-tool. It's cheap, it's a Zedo. Plug it straight into the 240. The cool thing about it is it's got a blade on the end of it here, but it comes with different attachments like sanding plates, like cutting discs. It's kind of like a grinder, but just oscillates backwards and forwards. It's pretty good at not doing too much damage to here, so it's not as abrasive or aggressive as a grinder, but it takes off things like glue really well. Care too much, that's pretty smooth. If you got enough Sikaflex on that, you could go straight onto that surface. It's got a bit of, you know, paint gone and whatever, and if the boat's out of the water most of the time, that would be okay. I don't like it. I'm gonna now sand this back with the same tool, but with a a sanding bit. So we'll take a bit of this now off further because we'll put a bit of paint on there. But it definitely works quite well for this job. So I'm just going to put on a standard etch primer. It's in grey, preferably white, but this is what the paint shop, this particular stuff is what the paint shop recommended to go with my 2-pack spray. So it's a 2-pack in an aerosol. So I'm just going to get a tiny bit of this on just to coat it, just to protect it. It's really trash weather right now. It's the wrong time to be painting, but I just want to get it on there. So I'm going to get this on first, and then we'll let it dry, and then we'll get the white on. Okay, now an update on the power situation in the boats. Obviously, we've got a broken light in the blue that we're fixing. We've got an LED strip light that's broken. I think that's the only electrical problems we've got. One thing that I did a little while ago was install this little guy here, the Noco Genius charger. So this is a 240 volt charger. It's hardwired in the boat here. It can be removed with a strap. And then on one end, I've got a waterproof box that includes a ability to plug it directly into mains power. And then on the other end, I've got the attachment that plugs into the batteries. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so inside this little waterproof box, at one end, I've got my 240 volt. So that plugs into shoreline, pontoon, whatever you want. On the other end, I've got my charging port, and I've added hardwired to the batteries, one there and one there, which means I can plug these in directly to the 240. I could wire them together and plug them together, but I figured that keeping them separate, it felt, I don't know, good for redundancy for me. But I can plug this in to the battery, plug it into the and then all I've got to do, and that will reach both of those pretty easily. And then all I've got to do is plug in the mains and it charges. So I've just plugged that in. It's on 12 volt AGM. Of course it starts raining, of course. And that's now charging. And with any luck, as it starts to sense what the battery's doing, we'll get lights over the next minute or two. And there you have it. So that's the battery on this side. It's been about 60 seconds, and that means that it's got full battery, but it's basically on like a maintenance repair mode. It'll just sit there and flash away for as long as I leave it. I'm gonna leave it overnight, just let it sit there, and then tomorrow I'll do it to the other battery, just to basically a little refresher. But cool little device. It's really just a 12 volt battery charger, but having it hard mounted means that all I've really got to do is plug in two things, and I'm not unclipping these, pulling out the battery boxes, connecting something to the terminals. It's a big muck around otherwise. I also don't really have to do this. Theoretically, the alternator in the outboard should charge them and keep them charged, but I like doing this when I've got the boat out of the water doing all the other jobs anyway. So here we are. So another fairly annoying problem that I've been meaning to solve. The boat's got this awesome LED strip lighting that runs around the gunnel, the whole boat. It's awesome, and I love it. But I noticed that it's not turning on in the front anymore, which is weird. And then I noticed some flickering under this side. So I think what's happening is there's a join under the helm here where maybe water's gotten in, it's corroded, it's splitted, or something's happened to the wire join, the solder maybe. And so I think I'm just going to cut it where I know it's good, add new wire from there, and then cut it on the other side, and basically run just wire through a foot of what is where the problem is, and see if I can fix it that way. I think it'll work, but I'll show you what I mean. So it's lit up all under there, all under there, all under there, and then stops. And there's wiring that comes off it there, and then it's flashing there. Then you come under here, and you can sort of see it's just that end. So I think if we cut, call it, I don't know, a foot or so of wire, and basically just put in a new piece, through that whole section, I reckon that'll solve it. Okay, so we've got soldering iron ready. I just made up a piece of wire here. Just tinned some solder onto the end of it to make it really easy. And then that is for the LED lights. We'll try and touch the lights first because they're going to be the tricky bit. And then we'll come back to this bigger wire and we'll see if we can bypass the bad point and make it work. Okay, so I cut it off under there, which is fine. Went to pull it through, and it's just pulling apart in my hands. So I can see some points on here where it's pretty rusty looking. I don't know if that's where the problems occurred, but I do think just bypassing this old munted bit here should actually solve the problem. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so 20 minutes of mucking around later, and this old strip lighting in the front of the boat just keeps pulling apart in my hand. I did try to skim some of the sealant off it and solder onto the end of it to see if it works. It's just breaking. So what I did was, to work out where the source of the problem is, I came around the front here and stripped back wire, which was all the way back from the helm, and that was the wire that ran to the strip lighting at this end. And then I just got my blue light, and all I've done to test that that wire works is, let me just drop this back. It's just, this is all live, but just touched this on here and then on there, and I'm getting perfect 12 volt power. So, I know this wire works. I know it's the old strip lighting that was up there around the bow that's gone. Instead of trying to make old wire work, I'm going to scrap that. And all the internal lights still work at the back, so I'm going to leave them as they are. But I'm going to run new strip lighting later on from here, around the bow to there. Well, shout out to Amazon. Next day delivery. Ordered this last night, and fresh strip lighting, including a little button thing with modes and speeds and stuff. So we'll test that out. That's pretty cool. $17, and it's full weatherproof. So I'll take that as a win. I think the last one lasted 12 years. Who knows what the quality of that was? I reckon will be the same on this one. So that's a win. So we're having a bit of a nightmare with the weather here, but I've just cleaned all this up, so I was ready for the white paint, so that's ready to go. And then this handrail here had a bit of paint cracking, so I've also sanded that back and just put a bit of primer on that. So I figured that there's a bunch of repairs I want to do in time, like patch and repair this, but that's a later job and it's got to be filled. This one here is an easy one to do, so we'll do that, and that when we get a better weather break and I'm not dealing with all this rain. I only get one shot with the 2-pack can, so I've got to sort that out. So we'll wait for this weather to pass. We got our first sunny morning and I forgot to get the camera on, but it's going on pretty good there. Like, for a rattle can, albeit a 2-part rattle can, it's pretty good. Same again. I don't reckon, if I didn't point it out, you'd pick it. The paint is a bit discoloured under here. It's a bit more sort of yellow. I do wash it after using it, but it's certainly a bit yellower than the top deck. But even then, it's because it's in the shade. I don't think you'd ever pick that was repainted. So that's a good little outcome. On to the next round of jobs. So this is a cool little test. Rather than running an extension lead all the way down, running the soldering iron off the old EcoFlow river. That's pretty cool. Seems to be working. So a lot easier to carry this little box down than just running an extension lead. Anyway, let's see if we can get these lights working. Okay, so we've freed up the wiring for the helm that I removed last week. I'm going to cut this, expose these wires, get them ready, test them against the LEDs, and test them against the switch for the internal lighting, which is this one. And if that works, we can wire it up properly and be on our way. All right, so we've cut it back and exposed the wires. And if I tap these, we're getting power. So we'll take that as a win. I want to wire these all up, and then we'll have to rig the LEDs all around the internal front of the boat and the outside, and then we're sorted. Well, it's not my cleanest solder job, but I just want to test it now. Move the soldering out of the way. All right, power on. Let's power on. Now, theoretically, flick this switch, lights should be on solid. Hell yeah. And we know it works because the backlights are both on and off. You can't really see the underfloor lights in this light, but they should be on as well. Yeah, I can see them under there. Cool. So now, just got to run this lighting around the whole boat. All right, well, I've run it around loosely, around there, drops out there, got to be taped all the way up around the inside up there, and then onto the inside up here, around under there, and then it stops at this light, which is where the rear lighting kicks in. So it's done and it works. Got to be stuck up, but we'll call that a win. Okay, and all of the strip lighting is attached. Very hard to see it inside the boat, but it is there. All the way around, then all around there. Not too bad. And that works perfect because it's flush with the top here. I've still got awesome access into the shelves, and it looks like it's easily removable with just unscrewing those by hand. So there you go, a good little addition. White would have been better, but it is what it is. Deck wash. The old one was super old and gross, and the hose actually just broke in half. So I went online and I figured that I could have just replaced the hose, but I might as well replace the whole setup. So that's my new hose, and in here I've got my new accessories, which is just the gun and plastic piece. Hopefully this all fits. I think it will. But yeah, it's not a metal piece like that one is, which would have been better, but it's a start, and let's get it installed and make sure it all works. All right, so inside the boat, looking down here at the deck wash. So, really simple, cool little setup. Here's the pump. That's got 12 volt running to it, which comes from the batteries, and it's got a switch up on the dash. This is where I removed the old hose from up here. That's where I've got to add the new one. Interestingly, so I've got this here that allows me to split the water source. So this goes directly to a through hole fitting down under the boat, down under there. In fact, I can even show you. Under here. That's it down there, which is cool. And the other one, that one runs down there, under the gunnel, all the way around, down under there in the centre of the floor, where there is an 80 litre freshwater big bladder tank thing, which also needs to be filled up and put some shock through it to treat it, just because it's been a while. But that's where the freshwater is. That's filled up via this, which comes up to here. For the life of me, can't work out how to get water in that. It just fills in this hose area, and I can't put pressure on it. But what I usually do is just literally undo the hose clamp, pull this out, pull this hose, hold it up in the air here, and put the hose in it, and I can get gravity to feed it down, which works. But for now, so I pretty much exclusively use it for freshwater. If I was doing a lot of travelling, I might use the saltwater. I'd very, very rarely do that. This has to go on there. Let's do it. All right, that is blowing an absolute gale and the weather is horrendous. That is attached up here. It's very, feels good. I did it like that so that could all naturally just coil there. That I usually have just sitting on there. And that's completely out of the way of the seat and everything else. And then when I need it, all I'm going to do is flick a switch on the dash, grab that, and that'll pump water. So that's pretty cool. Not a big job by any stretch, but it's one of those little jobs where you know it has to be done. You don't use a deck wash all the time, so you don't do it frequently, but then it just catches up to you. There's 5 or 10 or 20 of these random little jobs, so glad to get that one finished. It's a cheap solution, and the pump is still perfect, so yeah, that's good. Alright, so she's trying hard to get water through. I reckon I need to run some shock through the water system just to clean it and also top up the bladder. I haven't done it in a long time. I reckon water in there, and then just let it prime all the hoses and run for a bit, just clear out some of the old water. I reckon it'll work fine. Just, yeah, got to get that sorted, but I'm not going to do it in this disgusting weather that's bucketing down. So anyway, consider it a job done, albeit got to fill up water. Alright, well I'm filling up this. I, for the life of me, don't know how people fill them up from those. It just backfills and spurts back out. Whereas if I unplug it underneath and hold it up and lower the front of the boat closer to the ground, the gravity feeding actually feels like it works quite well. But muck around of a job this. Don't recommend it. Started backfilling out there with the hose. So we're just going to do a quick test. See how we're going here. Batteries on. Deck wash on. That's building pressure. And let's see if we can get a steady flow here. So it's going to be priming, getting water through it. Hopefully. There we go. And now we're getting water. So what I'm going to do is just basically empty this, get rid of any old water, and then refill it. Alright, deck wash hose all rigged up again, and hose put away. Battery off, switch off. That's another job done. Another job on the boat. It had these two bits of rubber stuck on here, which prevented any anchor chain from rubbing. However, they're all peeling up and weathered. I peeled them off and they're fine. They've left a bit of residue, but this one peeled off a bunch of paint, which is a bit annoying. I figured that rather than just replacing it with some more grip tape, let's chuck some EVA foam down. So went on Amazon, bought some pretty cheap stuff, but it'll be good for a test, and we'll refit it, make a template and see how it goes. So I bought this sheet of EVA foam. It's quite thick on this side and then sticky on the other side, which is cool. All right, that's the first piece cut. It'll fit there nicely. It's cut that shape because of the raised edge there. And I've just got that bit of EVA foam on. So now, if the anchor is sitting in here and I've got the chain running across, it's not going to roll on this metal there. And yeah, it's a nice little fit. The last job, these floodlights. So, I've done a little online order, and I ordered from, actually probably came from China, of all places, a few things. A new water tank, which is cool, just fresh water. But I got these here, these LED floodlights. Now they're designed for four-wheel drives, which is cool, but I think they're going to be pretty weatherproof and they should be all right. I'm going to blast them with inox once they're mounted. So and also separately to that, so I got those, and then I also bought these mounting brackets for them. So there's sort of half brackets and then different sized rubber inserts that clamp down. And let me see if there's one here. How do they work? Here we go. That's the other half there. So you can imagine they screw together. There's a rubber insert so you can get the diameter right, and then the light mounts on here. So we'll set them all up here in the garage. We'll get a bit of solder on them. I bought some of these joiners to join the wires because obviously I want a really good weather seal on these. However, I, for the life of me, cannot use these without the whole thing melting apart. I'll give you an example. I just did some testing with them, and like, I guess that one did work, but I just feel like the plastic just melts. So, and that solder, I guess that melted, but they're a bit of a nightmare. I'm not quite sure how to use these well. So I'll probably try and use them and see how they go. But yeah, but the whole theory is just, I'm sure everyone's seen these before, but wire goes in both sides, hit with the heat gun, it shrinks down, and the solder line strip melts in the middle. I don't know if they're the right thing to use. I'm going to try, and we'll just see. So let's start by prepping. Okay, so that's the old one, and that's the bracket for the new one. I've got to loosen it there, tighten it there, fit this in properly, but that's definitely the right size. The biggest size is definitely the right size, and the light would be suspended below it right there. So yeah, obviously I think I'll put to it here because the wire runs out there. So we'll mount it here, but just test fitting. Looks good.
Turn up the dial. You know what you gotta do. Get wild. You ain't gotta play it cool. Get wild. Take a rocket to the moon.
Well, they're not much in the daylight, but they're wired up with joiners, and they're both working. I'll have to test them out at night. I'm going to get some liquid electrical tape over these here They're all sealed up, but get a liquid electrical, and then I've got some conduit coming to go over the whole thing. So yeah, it'll work.
Turn up the dial. You know what you gotta do. Get wild. You ain't gotta play it cool. Get wild. Take a rocket to the moon. Get wild. Get wild. Turn up the dial. They keep coming back. They keep coming back for you. They keep coming back. They keep coming back for you. You know what you gotta do. 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 Get wild. You ain't gotta play it cool. Get wild. Take a rocket to the moon. Get wild. Get wild.
Just used this on these, and they came up an absolute treat. So they were pretty dirty actually, and almost like moldy, and they've come up looking like close enough to new. That's a pretty good outcome. Otherwise, that's the end of a weekend. Boat's all shiny clean. Just did a wax on it as well, and we're close. One last job.
Take a rocket to the moon. Get wild. Get wild. Get wild. They keep coming back. They keep coming back. They keep coming back. They keep coming back.
All right, and that's the end of another resto video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this one, feel free to give it a little thumbs up and a little sub to the channel, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What else you think I should do to this awesome boat in these amazing conditions. Anyway, cheers guys. See you later.